10. Golden-tongued mummies. Earlier this year, a team of archaeologists unearthed several mummies with golden tongues inside 16 burial shafts at the Taposiris Magna Temple in Alexandria. This is believed to be part of a ritual to ensure that the dead could communicate with the god Osiris in the afterlife. The graves date back to Greek and Roman times. The remains are poorly preserved but contain clear evidence of gilded cartonnage as well as false tongues made from gold foil. One mummy contains gilded decorations of Osiris, another bears a crown with horns and an interesting looking cobra on it, as well as gilded chest decorations resembling a necklace with a pendant shaped like a falcon's head, which symbolizes the god Horus. In addition to the golden-tongued mummies, the team found 8 marble funeral masks also dating back to the Greek and Roman eras, which were crafted in intricate detail and made to resemble their wearers who were probably of very high status. These recently discovered artifacts represent the latest of many discoveries on the site, including coins bearing Queen Cleopatra VII's name and image, which were found in the temple walls. 9. Prison City. Built near modern-day Gaza around 1300 BC, roughly 3,000 years ago, the ancient city of Rhinocolora was reportedly named after the mutilated faces of its residents. Yikes. Their noses were hacked off prior to being sent there as a criminal punishment. The metropolis functioned as a penal colony of sorts, with prisoners being kept within its walls for life. Guards sat perched in towers as high as 66 feet, keeping a watchful eye over those that lived in the city, but also knowing that if anyone escaped, they would quickly be identified as a convict based on their missing nose. With very little water or bureaucratic oversight, life was hard in the city, which was more or less self-governed. Some historians believe it never even existed. Evidence of the settlement is scarce at best, and most accounts of the place date to thousands of years after it was supposedly built. During the 1st century BC, Greek historian Diodorus Siculus wrote that Rhinocolora was founded by the Ethiopian king Actisanes as a place for people convicted of robbery. According to the Greek historian Strabo, however, the city was founded by Ethiopians whose noses were cut off as a punishment for trying to invade Egypt. While nobody can prove that Rhinocolora existed, evidence shows that cutting someone's nose off was actually a common criminal consequence in ancient Egypt. It served the purpose of hindering someone's expressions, impairing both their body and their personality. 8. Mummified shrew. Over 2,000 years ago, the ancient Egyptians buried shrews, falcons, and other animals at the Falcon Necropolis, a burial ground at the Cana site in the Nile Delta. Many of these creatures don't exist in Egypt anymore, giving researchers the opportunity to learn about how the environment and biodiversity have changed over time. Recent discoveries include a mummified shrew that hails from a climate much wetter than that of modern-day Egypt. This indicates that the region was once much damper than it is now. Known as the Guldenstadt's white-toothed shrew, the creature dates back to sometime between 2,500 and 2,000 years ago, a time that saw a significant increase in the emergence of animal cults. The Falcon Necropolis functioned as a place for offering animals as a way of worshipping the god Horus. Some species are found in such great numbers that experts believe they were more or less commercially farmed, specifically for sacrifice. But shrews are one of the less common creatures found at the site. This could be because they were easier to trap than to breed, according to Salima Ikram, who co-authored a paper on the findings. This means that the Guldenstadt's white-toothed shrew was likely native to the region, since it was probably caught in the wild. Scientists have identified several shrew species at the site, and this latest discovery adds to their understanding of the variety of animals that the environment could support over 2,000 years ago. If you had to join an animal cult, which one would you join? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. 7. Pharaoh's Stone Slab. Earlier this year, a farmer near Ismailia, Egypt discovered a 2,600-year-old stone slab, or stele, linked to the pharaoh Apries. He found the 7.5-foot sandstone marker while preparing his land for cultivation and contacted the country's tourism and antiquities police. The stele bears an image of a winged sun disk, which was sometimes associated with the sun god Ra, and a cartouche of Apries himself. Beneath these depictions are 15 lines of hieroglyphics that are currently being translated. It was a very curious find indeed. But who is Apries? Apries reigned from around 589 to 570 BC during the 26th dynasty. Egypt was independent at the time, with its capital often located in the northern region at Sais, according to Live Science. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote that Apries was either killed or replaced by another pharaoh named Amasis after fighting a losing war against the Phoenicians that ultimately sparked an Egyptian civil war. Historians hope that the Steles hieroglyphics will shed light on these events that most people don't know anything about. 6. The Amarna Letters. A collection of nearly 400 clay tablets known as the Amarna Letters contain the world's earliest known examples of international diplomacy. Dating back to the 14th century BC, they detail the correspondences between Egyptian pharaohs and their rivals, including Babylonian, Assyrian, Hittite, and Mitanni rulers. These letters capture the raw human emotions that came amid competing tensions and delicate negotiations between the region's rulers at the time. They also contain rules and conventions for these types of interactions, which represent the earliest diplomatic policies. Basically, it's a collection of all the ups and downs between the contrasting cultures. Known as the Armada system, these protocols establish a level playing field of sorts between different powers. Rulers used the system for over 200 years as a part of the empire building process, and it served its purpose well by maintaining a semblance of peace and stability between competing civilizations. The tablets span the reigns of several 18th dynasty rulers, including Amenhotep III, Akhenaten, and possibly Smenkhare and/or Tutankhamun. The first batch of letters was discovered in 1887. Some modern researchers believe that they were woefully overlooked and insist that more attention must be paid to them because they offer invaluable insight into ancient international relations. 5. Egypt's copper source. There are periods of ancient Egyptian history that experts know very little about. One of them is the Third Intermediate Period, which lasted from 1070 BC to 664 BC. A new study of 4 3,000-year-old bronze funerary statues called Ushabtis reveals the existence of a copper trade network between the Egyptians and the Arabah region south of modern-day Israel. This commercial relationship continued during a time of turmoil, even as civilizations near Egypt were collapsing. In the words of Ben-Dor Evian, a curator of Egyptian archaeology at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, the research shows Egypt continued to play a significant role in the region despite its internal strife and the decline of ancient empires in the Near East. Ushabtis were common grave goods in ancient Egypt, which were believed to perform duties on behalf of the deceased. The 4 that were examined in the study were found at the pharaoh's capital of Tanis and date back to sometime between 1056 BC and 1010 BC, during the reign of Susenus I. This marked a period of uncertainty, political disturbance, and invasions in Egypt, which was split into 2 kingdoms known as Upper and Lower Egypt. Despite the division, Susenes I managed to import copper and facilitated the continuation of Egypt's flourishing metal art at the time. These findings challenge long-held beliefs about Egypt becoming extremely isolated during this period, and show that even when the going got tough, the civilization maintained its connections with the outside world. 4. The Bent Pyramid. In the royal necropolis of Dashur, south of Cairo, there are 2 pyramids, the more significant of which is known as the Bent Pyramid. Both are roughly 4,600 years old. They were conditioned by the 4th dynasty pharaoh Snefru around 2600 BC during Egypt's Old Kingdom. Standing at 331 feet tall, the Bent Pyramid represents an architectural transition between the Djoser Step Pyramid, which was built between 2667 BC and 2648 BC, and the Maidum Pyramid, which dates back around 2600 BC, the same time the Bent Pyramid was built. It's named for its bent look, which results from the structure rising up from the ground at a steep 54-degree angle, then tapering off near the top at a 43-degree angle. The location of Snefru's tomb is unknown, but researchers believe it's possible that he was laid to rest inside the Bent Pyramid. In 2019, the site reopened to tourists following extensive reconstruction for the first time since 1956. Visitors enter through the pyramid's north face before traveling through a 260-foot-long tunnel, which leads to 2 chambers. They can also explore the smaller 59-foot-tall satellite pyramid, which may have been dedicated to Snefru's wife Hetepheres. 3. The location of Puanat. The ancient Egyptians imported and mummified captive baboons for centuries. Some of these primates likely worked as service animals, helping to chase down criminals, while others were used for worshipping Thoth, a deity who is sometimes depicted as having a baboon's head. It's not the baboons themselves, but where they come from that intrigued primatologist and anthropology professor Nathaniel Dominy, who told Live Science that the ancient Egyptians imported primates from Puanat. There's ample evidence to suggest that Puanat was a real place. Egyptian historical records describe it as the land of their ancestors and praise it for its abundance of trade goods like resin, gold, ebony, ivory, and wild animals. But experts have never actually been able to figure out where Puenet is. Until now. Maybe. In a recent study, a team of researchers compared isotopes from modern baboons with information from 7 mummified specimens in hopes that the results would lead them to Puenet. 2 mummies dating back from 1520 BC and 1075 BC during Egypt's New Kingdom period came from a region of East Africa encompassing parts of modern-day Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia. 5 others, which date back from 332 BC during the Ptolemaic period, appear to have been captively bred. These findings indicate that Puenet was most likely located in the southern Red Sea region, along the coast of Eritrea and Somaliland, according to Domini. While this isn't proven, all signs point toward the conclusion being accurate, and the study has brought experts one step closer to definitively locating what was, until now, a seemingly mythical place. 2. Solar ships. Back in 1954, archaeologists uncovered a nearly intact ship in a pit near the southern face of the Cheops Pyramid, more famously known as the Great Pyramid of Giza. The 144-foot-long ship known as the Great Boat of Khufu is one of the world's oldest known planked vessels. It offered unprecedented insight into ancient Egypt's shipbuilding practices. Researchers believe that the ship was used by the pharaoh Khufu himself for pilgrimages from Memphis to Giza. Earlier this year, archaeologists announced the completion of their excavation of a second Khufu ship from another pit near the Great Pyramid. Nicknamed solar boats, this and the first Khufu boat are believed by some to have been used by Khufu as part of his persona, the sun god Re, during his daily travels across the sky. Other experts think that the vessels were funerary boats and that they were possibly used for transporting Khufu's body along the Nile River. But nobody knows for sure what the ship's purpose was. Researchers hope to come closer to solving the mystery by examining 1,700 pieces of the second vessel that they recovered, which were transported to the Grand Egyptian Museum for further study and assembly. Dating back over 4,500 years, this newly unearthed ship is already offering new insight into ancient shipbuilding practices. For example, evidence shows that the ancient Egyptians used metal in their ships. Reporting for ZME Science, TV Puyu pointed out that the first Khufu boat was likely adorned in gold and intricate decorations, and was truly outfitted for a god among men. While it's unknown whether the second boat was anywhere near as magnificent, it's sure to bring new insight into these royal vessels. 1. The ancient Egyptians were skilled musicians. Music played a major role in the culture and everyday lives of ancient Egyptians, who especially valued the harp, tambourine, and flute, according to Egyptologist Dr. Bassam al-Shamma. Speaking with media outlet Asharq al-Aswat, he described inscriptions inside royal tombs that depict the harp as a highly regarded instrument of Egyptian origin. Nearly 24 artifacts testifying to ancient Egypt's musical skill were put on display this year at the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir to mark World Music Day. The items included a funerary plaque with a harpist inscription, single and double flutes made from reeds, and pieces of colored leather that were used as drum covers. The ancient Egyptians used music in many aspects of civic and religious life, including in feasts, celebrations, rituals, and temples. They treated music as an organized art with rules, as well as respected supervisors and trainers, according to Egypt Today. The deity Hathor was closely connected with the protection of music and musicians in ancient Egypt, as well as the deity Bes, who was the protector of households, particularly mothers, children, and childbirth. These ties represent how major of a role music played in the ancient Egyptians' everyday lives, as well as special occasions. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn more about fascinating discoveries from ancient Egypt, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe. Bye for now.